Open the meeting of the Commission of City Plan, Tuesday, December 17th, 2024. We do have a quorum, and I'll ask for a motion regarding approval of the November 19th minutes.
I was not able.
Okay, I'll make a motion that they be approved.
A motion by Kathy to approve the minutes. Do we have a second?
This is Ella. I'll second.
Okay, Ella, a second. And Ella, does Ella? No, Ella's a regular. So we're good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so those are. We have a communications from the town of Montville zoning regulations change.
We do. The public hearing was last week. And as I told Frank before the meeting, we lost our network about 25 minutes ago. So I don't have it for you to show you, but it happened 7 days ago.
That's fine.
It's a
I
done
can't
deal.
remember off the top of my head what it was. Sorry.
All right. New business. We have two public hearings that are going to go forward, and it's my understanding that there's two that are going to be tabled to January 21st. So why don't we move on those two that are being tabled, and then we can move to the other ones. Special permit 24-1246 West Main Street. It's my understanding that we can't go forward because the mailings are not back.
Correct.
Could somebody make a motion to move that to the January 21st meeting?
I'll
make a motion.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, this is Ella. I'll make that motion.
Okay. Ella, and do we have a second?
I'll second.
So Ella, and a second by Dean to table the SP 24-12 to 12125. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And then the other one is subdivision number 438, 452 Plain Hill Road. My understanding this is being tabled at the request of the applicant.
Correct.
And so could we have a motion to table that matter to 121 also?
This is Ella. I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ella to table subdivision 438 to 12125. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Dean. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so those two matters are tabled. We'll go back to SP 2410 307 Washington Street. It's a request for a special permit for a conversion from one conforming use to another, from one non-conforming use to another non-conforming use. Proposed cafe with the sale of floral arrangements and associated site improvements. Property and application of Jeff LaMarche. Assessors map 76, block 2, lot 36, zone R20. So can we have a motion to open a public hearing on that matter?
I'll make that motion.
Motion to open the public hearing. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Kathy, second by Dean. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the public hearing is now open. Are there any preliminary matters, Dan, before the applicant speaks?
No.
Okay, so is there somebody here to speak on behalf of the applicant?
Yes. You hear me? Am I turned on?
I'm sorry, I'm having a little time delay on the sound.
Okay. This is Ellen Bartlett with CLA Engineers. We're located at 317 Main Street in Norwich, and I'm representing the owner and applicant. Also on this meeting is Jennifer and Jeffrey LaMarche, who are the owner and applicant. So if we have any questions that I can't answer, we'll let them handle that. The project is located at 307 Washington Street, right across the street from Bacchus Hospital. It's a previously developed site. The existing building had a first floor use of, Johnson Flowers and Gifts, been there as long as I can remember. And then there was an apartment on the second floor. However, this building has been vacant in recent years. The special permit is proposing a new cafe going to sell. Kind of goes well with the location.
Okay. If I can pause you for 1 second, can you turn your video off? I think your voice will come through clearer if the.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit. But we're not catching everything you're saying.
Can you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, we can hear you now. And
Okay. Yes, the special permit is for a cafe on the first floor where they'll sell floral arrangements. And in the second floor, they want to continue to have an apartment up there, which they're going to renovate before they rent. The project also proposes, Dan, could you put up the site plan, the sheet 2?
Sure.
Okay. The project proposes to clean up the rear yard because right now back in the rear of the property is some broken up asphalt, the remains of an old foundation and an old concrete slab. We're going to take all that out and build a parking lot back there, which will meet the parking requirements of the zoning regulations for the uses that we're proposing. It'll have a handicap space and it'll have the correct number of spaces as required. The stormwater from the site presently drains out to Washington Street and DOT's drainage system. As part of this project, we're proposing to put 2 dry wells in the rear of the yard that will provide for a decrease in stormwater running off the site. The project's been submitted to DOT and we have received their approval. It's also been reviewed by the city engineer and we've addressed all of his review comments. There are presently 2 access drives on either side of the building. The one to the south or the right of the building, which you can't really see right now, will be a one-way entrance drive. And then the access drive on the north side of the property, the left side of the building, will be the exit drive, providing all the pavement markings and signage so that it'll be very clear to anyone entering or leaving the site which lane they use for which. The building's facade will remain the same. They've actually added a fresh coat of paint on it. It looks a lot better. Dan, could you put up? I sent you the facade plan today. There it is. It's a lighter blue than this, but it's a nice blue, and we're going to keep the facade looking the way it has looked historically. The front yard right now is paved from the Washington Street sidewalk all the way to the front porch of the building. We're proposing to take that pavement out between the sidewalk and the porch and put in decorative pavers and some large planters that would give it a pop-up color. They'll be planted with different things all 4 seasons, but there'll always be some color out in the front. We've addressed all of the review comments from staff, and if this project is approved, we'll submit the Mylars and the plans with all the professional stamps and signatures for recording. At this point, if there's any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
I have a question. I drive by it every day and I like the color, but I have a question about the porch because they didn't paint the porch. And I was wondering, are they gonna fix the porch up? Because it looks like it's sagging and
Yes.
yeah, so
Porch needs some structural work, and actually our structural engineer has reviewed it. If this project is approved, then we'll be submitting building plans for that work. And yes, the porch will remain and it will be reconstructed.
okay, thank you.
Like it originally looked.
Anybody else have any questions?
I have another question. Do you have like a floor plan or is it all going to be open or, and are you making? No, it's not.
Plans were submitted. It will not be all open. The back part of the first floor will be for the kitchen and for work. The front area will be where you walk in and there'll be a counter where you can walk in and order your food, and there'll be a few tables and chairs that people can sit at if they
Mhm.
want to stay.
I could find, if you give me a minute, Kathy. I can-
Yeah. That's all right. That's all right. I was just wondering.
Okay.
And, and you're going to do floral arrangements still?
We're gonna have floor arrangements there that people could, if someone is getting coffee before they go to the hospital to visit somebody, they may
Oh.
want to pick up a floral arrangement.
And
It just really seems to suit that location.
yes, and baked goods and things like that?
Yes, it's gonna be a cafe with baked goods,
Oh, good.
sandwiches, breakfast sandwiches, coffee.
Good, excellent. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
This is Ella. I have a question because I'm just looking at some of, the drawings, and you do have the handicap spot, but it looks like there's steps to the front door. Is there like going to be a sidewalk or something around the building, or if someone's in a wheelchair? I mean, what's their accessibility to the building?
Right in front of the handicap space, there's a door. You can see it. And it's out as a rear entrance door, and it's flush. So a wheelchair can wheel right in, and then there's a corridor that'll take them to the front cafe area. So anyone parking in the parking lot will go in the rear door and go right to the cafe. Anybody walking or crossing Washington Street would go in the actual front entrance. So there'll be two entrances.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Dan, you have a
Yeah.
presentation?
So as Ellen mentioned, all of our comments from myself, city engineer, the zoning official, the building official have been addressed. I won't go over this again. I will say that if someone makes a motion to approve this, if you include all of the bullet points from my memo and some suggested reasons, whether it be it conforms to zoning section 1.2.3.4.1 and 4.8, chapter 5, zoning section 6.6, 7.5, and 7.7. I do have the exhibit list here, which I'll ask to waive the reading of. I'll provide it to the clerk for the minutes. There were no waivers with this, so you don't have to worry about that. I think that's it. Everything, all of our comments were addressed.
Okay. Is there anybody else who wants to speak in favor of this application? Anybody else who wants to speak in favor of the application? Last time, anybody else who wants to speak in favor? Hearing none, is there anybody who wants to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone who wants to speak in opposition? Again, last time, is there anybody who wants to speak in opposition? Okay, I don't hear anybody, so with that, I think we can have a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
A motion by Kathy Warzika to close the public hearing. Do we have a second?
This is Ella. I'll second.
A second by Ella Miles. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That being said, does anybody want to make a motion concerning the application itself?
Nobody, everybody's looking at me.
I'll make a
Okay.
motion to approve as it includes all the staff comments due to a conformance to ZS section 1.1.2.3.4, 4.8, chapter 5, zoning regulations section 7.5, 7.7 of the zoning regulations.
as set forth in Dan's memo.
as set forth
Yeah.
in Dan's memo.
That works.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve with the conditions as set forth in Dan's memo, and for the reasons set out therein. Do we have a second?
This is Ella, I'll second.
A motion by Dean Nason, second by Ella Miles to approve the application with the conditions that have already been stated. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And that's unanimous, I believe, so that application is granted, and I guess we can just make a note that we're waiving reading of the exhibit list. Okay. So that's done. Next matter is special permit 24-11, 139 Norwich Avenue. It's a request for a special permit for a proposed cannabis cultivation facility with associated site improvements. Proposed building totals 6,650 square feet with associated 25,000 square foot fenced outdoor grow area. Property of RTF Investments LLC, Robert Adams, principal. Application of Let's Grow Hartford LLC, David Salinas, CEO. Assessor's map 63, block 1, lot 43, zone GC MF. So can we have a motion to open the public hearing on that matter?
This is Ella, I'll make the motion to open the public hearing.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Motion by Ella, second by Dean to open the public hearing on SP 241-11. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so public hearing is open. Do you have anything before the
I'll let
applicant?
them present first. Sure.
Okay, so is there somebody here to speak on behalf of the applicant?
Yeah, my name is Jack McCartney. I'm with CLA Engineers, and with me tonight is Brian Krieger and James Billett from Let's Grow Hartford LLC, who are the applicant. Can I share my screen, please?
Sure. Go right ahead.
Is that working?
Not yet. There we go.
There we go. All right, so the site is located at 139 Norwich Avenue, which is Route 12, and it's zoned both general commercial and multifamily. It's kind of split, but the majority of it is general commercial. This is the line right here for it. Everything to the left of this black dashed line is multifamily. Everything to the right is general commercial. All of the proposed site work is taking place in the general commercial zoned area. So the property consists of 10.5 acres and is located on the east side of Route 12. And it's currently being used as a golf driving range. There are wetlands on the site, both on the southern and western boundary line, but none of the proposed work is taking place within the wetlands. The project proposes a cannabis cultivation and manufacturing facility, which falls under the advanced manufacturing requirement within the general commercial district, and it requires a special permit. The building being proposed for the facility is going to be a steel building with a 6,650 square foot footprint. The site is in a floodplain, so to ensure that the building is protected from flooding, it'll be raised about 10 feet above grade and will have an open parking area beneath it. The building will be used as office space, an employee area, post-harvest operations, which consist of drying and curing the plants, and a manufacturing area for packaging the product. There will also be a 25,000 square foot fenced-in area where all the cultivation will take place, all the growing. I just want to note that none of the plants will be actually in the ground. It's all going to be above ground, and the surface of this fenced-in area is going to be crushed stone. There'll be 16 parking spaces on the site, 9 of which will be outside in the parking lot areas, and 7 of which will be under the building. It's not shown on this plan, but there is also a handicap parking space under the building, which is right next to a proposed elevator. So it'll be easily accessible for handicap people. There's a loading dock on the south side of the building, which can be accessed through the fenced-in grow area through this access road. A water quality pond and a forebay are going to be used to treat all of the runoff coming from the pretty much the entire site. This all sheet flows towards the pond, and all of the impervious cover is going to be routed into the forebay via catch basins. The facility will operate 5 days a week from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. With a 2 to 4 person crew working on the weekends during peak season, which is in the summer and early fall. The plan is to have 4 to 8 employees with a seasonal influx of another 4 to 8 employees. And the state has very strict rules for securing facilities like this. So the cultivation area will be secured by a 12-foot tall chain link fence with privacy slats, and there'll be video surveillance on the site at all times. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. It's pretty straightforward. I can open up to questions now if anyone has any.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
I do.
Can we make a question?
Oh, do you want to have,
In a couple of minutes, we'll open up to the public.
okay, so do you have a, irrigation plan?
I think that can be answered by either Ryan or James, if you want to.
Sorry, James, Jamie, you wanna hop on that one? James, our cultivator.
Yes, sure. Hello, good evening, everyone. Yeah, so we have a fertigation plan that we've put together. It's quite simple. It's going to involve.
Could you, sir, please state your name for the record and your position?
Sure. Yes, this is James Billette. My position in the company is lead grower or grow manager.
Okay,
And,
thank you.
yep. And yeah, so we did put together a fertigation plan when we were initially applying for this special permit, I believe. Is that correct, Ryan? And it doesn't go into great detail, but it's essentially, you know, we're using 25 B exempt pesticides, which are basically considered minimum risk pesticides by the EPA, pretty much a standard for low risk pesticides, as well as we are also going to be doing essentially fertigation with a drip irrigation system, and which will basically consist of a few mixing tanks and a pump and main lines carrying the water out to the different areas of the cultivation section of the proposed plan.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I just have another follow-up. So will there be infiltration into the groundwater and during flood events from your plants?
I think I can answer this one. So the site from basically the grow area is pitched towards the water quality pond, and the bottom of the water quality pond is going to be lined with an impervious topsoil, so nothing is going to be able to infiltrate into the groundwater, and it'll all be able to be treated and leave the water quality pond from there. So no, there will not be infiltration from the plants.
Do you have a maintenance plan for that?
Yep, we have an operation and maintenance plan on sheet 8 of the site plan.
Can you review that for me?
Um, yeah, so basically, the basin is gonna be regularly upkept throughout the year. I don't have, let's see. Yeah, basically throughout the year, the basin's gonna be cleaned out and the plants in it are gonna be regularly tended to so that it basically does its job treating all the stormwater that comes through there. And yeah, it's pretty much it. It's gonna be cleaned out of all debris. Um,
How often?
sure. Um, I mean,
Me beyond the schedule he has on the right. Second
yeah.
group monthly, semi-annually and as needed. You want something
I
beyond that?
can't even see that.
Oh, okay. On
Even
the
though I
right hand
have my
side,
glasses on, but
the things on the left, the activity on the left, there's a schedule on the right. The first block is second growing season. The small block in the middle is monthly. And the lower block is semi-annually. And the
Okay.
very bottom line is as needed maintenance.
okay, and so what do they say in between, what do they say in the blocks on the left? I mean, can you just summarize it? I don't want you to read it.
Yeah, like I said, basically, it's going to be inspected and uh
Can I
every
in here, Jack? Yeah, so it looks like at whenever it accumulates to a depth of 12 inches or 50% of the design depth, we're gonna go ahead and clean out the pond.
Okay. And what happens to the water that's in the basin? Does it just dissipate or?
no, once it gets to a certain level, here, let me go back to the actual basin. Once it gets to a certain level, it gets it flows out of this outlet right here. Once it reaches here, I actually have a better. So this level right here, this is a profile view of the basin, if it will load. And this is the forebay right here, it flows in, and this is the elevation that the water, once the water gets to this elevation, it'll flow through from the forebay into the water quality basin, and it will flow out of the basin once it gets to this outlet elevation of 26.5 feet. And the idea is by the time that it gets to all the way across the basin here, all the contaminants and everything will settle into the basin and the water leaving the outlet will be clean.
All right, thank you. I have another question. Do you have a waste management plan?
Yeah, we have a dumpster located or a dumpster enclosure located here. I'm not entirely sure if James or Ryan or if you guys have anything special that you do with any of the plants.
Yeah, so the state has very specific regulations. This is James Billett speaking again, on how to properly dispose of waste in their track and trace system, and everything will be accounted for in the BioTrack, which is Connecticut's track and trace system, including any waste. And what that entails, just for a simple version of it, is essentially the plants are harvested. Any parts that are not containing any cannabinoids or any active ingredients can then be destroyed through the BioTrack system and thrown into that dumpster.
And then removed from the site?
Correct.
Okay, and what will you do to address the quality of the air quality and odors from the growing area that is outside and right next to a restaurant and houses, right? Right. And from what my research is, that it is very hard to mask that odor, and it is very strong odor, and I've experienced, smelling growing a cannabis plant, so I know what it smells like.
You've been growing at home, Cal?
No, but someone in my neighborhood is.
This is James Billet again. Yeah, so we're planning to use carbon filtration to mitigate smells for drying the material, which is when it's exuding the majority of its smell in that drying process. So we'd be using activated carbon filtration in the building, as well as potentially using activated carbon filtration in the growing area as well. If we're able to use high tunnels or any kind of structures in there that are not permanent structures, that would allow us to control the airflow a little bit better. In terms of, it would enclose the environment and allow us to add in activated carbon filtration.
I would have to be 100% sure that there will not be an odor from this growing area, because it is not a great smell and will not affect the bakery, which is located next door, and the neighbors who live around there. From what my research shows is that these cannabis, outdoor cannabis growing facilities you can smell them up to like a mile away. So I think this is really important. It's important for this area to look at. It's a very densely developed area, and we're promoting good businesses with what is there. So I want to know that 100% that this will not create an odor problem.
Hi, this is Ryan Krieger speaking. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Let's Grow Harvard. I would be a liar if I told you that we can guarantee that there will be no smell off an outdoor growing facility. Unfortunately, it is outdoors, and the plants, while Jamie is correct in the fact that it will mitigate the majority of the odor to dry, indoors with our HVAC systems controlled, the outdoor plant will have some odor, and why we will mitigate as best as possible. High tunnels, the way we grow the plant will mitigate that quite a bit. There is no way we can guarantee you that there will be no residual odor, just because it is a plant and it is a tiny bit skunky.
I have to say, I respect you for telling me the truth.
You would visit the first day and be very angry, so I don't know what to say.
This is Ella. I have a question. So is there a particular reason why you're choosing to do an outdoor grow facility versus an indoor one?
Yes. I won't bore you too much with cannabis, but if you look at our neighbors to the north, Massachusetts, the price to grow indoors is about $700 to $800 a square foot. And the price of cannabis went from $4,000 a pound to $1,200 a pound. So the people that put in $30-40 million into a grow facility either went into receivership because there's no bankruptcy for cannabis since it's federally illegal, or they've had to not pay back their investors, have all sorts of problems. So we've decided early on not to catch a falling knife with building a very expensive grow facility and then watch the price of flower deteriorate over the next 2 to 5 years. What we instead chose to do is focus on where cannabis is going, which is primarily edibles, different consumable forms, which we can produce just as well with outdoor as with indoor. And so we are focused on cannabis breeds that are heavy in concentrates like you'd use for an edible, which we are processing to get rosin from, which is essentially like the cold olive oil press of weed where we don't use chemicals to extract. Instead, we freeze and crush to extract, this honey-like substance which contains the cannabinoids, and then use that for edibles. So manufactured goods have great margin, and that's kind of our corporate strategy.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, anybody else speaking on behalf of the applicant? Anyone else speaking on behalf of the applicant? Anyone else speaking on behalf of the applicant? Hearing none, any members of the audience wishing to speak in opposition to this application?
I wrote up the whole thing though, so can I say it all? Okay. I don't know if you're gonna-
Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, I'm Tina Pacheco from Scotland Road in Norwich. I'm
Spell your
here,
name, please.
PACHECO.
UCO?
Yep. I'm here today to oppose the special permit considered for yet another cannabis cultivation facility. If approved, this wouldn't just mean the loss of one of the few remaining recreational spaces in our town. It would also place an industrial facility in the heart of Tapville, a much more densely populated area than the locations of the two other cannabis facilities already approved on Stonington Road and at the location of Minerva's driving range on the London Turnpike not long ago, and much more visible than the one you also approved on Franklin Street. This project is planned for the current site of Nippy's driving range. Nippy's is the last golf driving range in Norwich. Losing it would be a huge loss for the outdoor activities we can offer residents. For families, seniors, young people, pretty much anybody, Nippy's is a place to get active, practice, or learn golf, enjoy time outdoors, and connect with others in the community. During the pandemic, it was a refuge, a safe and welcome place to get fresh air when almost nothing else was available. It was not just a business, it's a special part of what makes Tapville and Norwich as a whole unique. Under the rules of granting special permits, this proposal doesn't align with Norwich's plan of conservation and development. That plan prioritizes preserving recreational spaces and land uses that promote community engagement and quality of life. That's Nippy's in a nutshell. Turning Nippy's into an industrial facility flies in the face of Norwich's vision, especially after losing Minerva's driving range for the exact same purpose. We need to protect the few recreational spaces we have left. Unlike Minerva's or the Stonington Road Weed Farm locations that you approved, which are located in less populated areas, this facility would be right in the heart of Tapville. This area is home to many families and small businesses that actually contribute to the daily life of our town. Even the Franklin Street Weed Farm you approved, which would also be in a busy section of Norwich, has the decency to be quietly contained within an existing commercial building that will not impact the character of the surrounding business community. Introducing a cannabis facility in Tapville would change the character of this community and create concerns about traffic, odors, and industrial activity in a neighborhood that should remain family-friendly and welcoming. Imagine a child enjoying an ice cream cone at nearby Dairy Queen while also inhaling the funk of ripe marijuana. Tall chimneys is not going to fix that. The size, intensity, and industrial nature of this proposed operation would disrupt the orderly development of the neighborhood, bringing increased noise, traffic, as well as light pollution for their outdoor facilities, bringing all of that to a largely residential community, all of which stands against the requirement of the special permit to be in harmony with the area, as well as promoting the welfare of the city. Further, the zoning regulations require that special permits protect and enhance scenic, historic, and natural resources. In one form or another, but largely as a driving range, Nippy's has been part of Norwich since the 1930s. That's almost 100 years. Contributing to that neighborhood's charm and providing green, open space. I've always thought of it as a peaceful little haven in a busy city. People don't just go there to practice golf, they also go there to walk their dogs, quiet their fussy babies, watch the many, many deer, and the few bald eagles that call that property home. Simply just go enjoy a park-like atmosphere. Its history and value as a community space cannot be replaced by an industrial building. I understand that Norwich is trying to encourage cannabis growers to come to the city for the revenue, but this cannot come at the expense of recreational and open space opportunities for those of us supporting this city. As a taxpayer, I know how much we already give to this town. Recreational spaces like Nippy's are one of the few benefits we can actually enjoy in return. Spaces like Nippy's encourage healthy activity and community connections. As taxpayers, we deserve recreational spaces that benefit everyone. Converting Nippy's into an industrial facility will push residents out of town to find similar activities, taking their spending and support for local businesses with them. Meanwhile, this proposed new marijuana factory will offer little to the average resident. Definitely not doing a solitary thing to relieve our unusually high tax burden, while eroding the character of one of our town's most populated areas. Economic development is important, but not when it comes to the expense of our community's quality of life. Nippy's brings visitors to Norwich from other towns without similar facilities, boosting our local businesses in a way a weed growing facility never will. In wetlands discussions about this proposed facility, Nippy's was mentioned as formerly Nippy's, but it still exists. And it was in fact open at the time of that business meeting. Its owner just closed for what he thought was the season just a few weeks ago. Usually, unlike recreational spaces such as Nippy's that draw people in and encourage local spending, industrial weed cultivation offers no such benefit to the surrounding community. It's a closed operation that neither welcomes nor supports the residents living near it. As your constituent, I ask you protect the interests of the community and uphold the integrity of the zoning regulations by denying this special permit. Protect Nippy's, or at the very least, the green space that it is, a place that truly enhances the quality of life for Norwich residents. Let's keep Norwich safe, welcoming, and a vibrant place for us to live, work, and play. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I would like to have some questions.
Okay, could you state your name and address, please?
My name is Krzysztof Pietrzykowski. I live at 21 McKay Street. I can see Nippy's from windows from my house.
Okay, what's your question? And who's it for?
Okay.
I said, what is your question and who is it?
Oh, I don't know.
There's somebody who may be able to answer it.
Yes. So basically, for cultivation facilities, very energy intensive, contribution significantly to electricity use and carbon emission. What steps will the facility take to minimize the energy consumption?
This is Ryan Krieger, COO of Let's Go Harvard. I'd be happy to answer that for you. This is to answer your question directly, we will have, the whole idea of being an outdoor facility is to use the sun. We will be augmented with some LED offset, but primarily the entire purpose is to conserve energy and use the sun. We will not have a significant power draw. The indoor grow facilities can have up to $800,000 power bills per month. We will not have anything like that, given the fact that we are, the primary reason to do this entire thing is to use sunlight.
And about what water usage is substantial. How much water is the facility projected to use daily? And what plans exist to ensure that this does not negatively impact local water supply?
It is not a tremendously water intensive plant. We are using drip irrigation. So basically we will have 50-gallon type drums, maybe slightly larger, above the growing field, which then run as a gravity fed drip line into the field. So literally dripping of water. We will not have a significant water draw in any way, for the facility, given the size of that grow. And mind you, this is roughly 3 acres of a 14-acre site, which will be preserved as a green space.
Anything else? I don't know that.
Yeah, how much tax revenue is the facility expected to generate annually? And
That's
how
not-
this will funds be allocated within the town?
That's not an issue for the planning commission, tax revenue, so.
But I can just speak briefly to, so this is what they call a social equity license. So there is a social equity plan also filed with the town of how we are involved in helping the community and being part of the community harmony, which has been spoken to. I do believe Nippy's was not always Nippy's, and it was at another point a drive-in movie theater and possibly an adult drive-in movie theater, I believe, in the 70s already. So I don't know quite the history and lore of Nippy's, but I don't think it's 100 years. So yes, we will be bringing the tax revenue and stuff. Happy to get into it another time, but we will be bringing significant tax revenue and social benefit to the town.
I have one more question, and because I see Nippy's filled like for last 30 years through my windows, and it is flooded at least once a year. How are you gonna deal with the waste then?
So correct. The property does flood. Anything, which is why it is our proposed idea is above ground, not in ground. And anything that would float is contained within a 12-foot fence. So any of the product, that we are growing would not escape the fenced-in enclosure. And given the slope of the basin, there would be no soil, very minimal exposure of anything we're using. And the way the state treats cannabis product is to a much more stringent testing than even organic fruits and vegetables. So there is nothing we will be using that is harmful to the local environment.
One last question. Why did you decide to build it in the middle of town?
The decision, unfortunately, is what the state of Connecticut deemed disproportionately impacted areas, where you could only build these facilities, given our license type, in areas where the arrests per capita for drug-related crimes was high enough. So there were very limited places that had fields, given the crime statistics that were needed to be able to construct a facility. Norwich was one of the only towns that had open space and a high enough crime rate to qualify.
Yeah,
Okay,
mile away last week, there was drive-by shooting, but
Yeah.
Anybody else have any comments or questions?
I do. My first name is Martin.
What's your last name, Martin?
Indars.
Sir? Sir,
Indars,
and where do you live?
22 Gleason Street.
Thank you.
Martin,
Do
do you mind spelling that?
I don't mind though.
Thank you.
Last name is spelled I-N-D-A-R-S.
Thank you.
Sure. Nippy's nephew was a gentleman named Ernie Beauregard. And Ernie picked balls there in the 1930s. So he told me that this summer before he died. So I know it was a driving range nearly 100 years ago. My question regards the water, and one of the members here talked about it, where it would be treated. And it was talked about it being treated in the basin. As it went through that basin, what is the ultimate destination of the water? Where does the water go from the basin after it's treated?
The water flows out of the basin right here and it goes to a low point in the site where it leaves the site, and I'm not sure where it goes once it gets off. But it kind of goes towards these wetlands down here, and yeah, but all of that the basin is designed to only emit clean water, so none of the water leaving the basin is going to be contaminated with anything at all.
Any other questions or comments? Dan, anything from the office?
I have a memo. And Rich is here and he can share some comments in person. Actually, Rich, if you want to go first while I bring this up. Put me on the
Excuse me. Well, real quickly,
Rich, could you just identify yourself for the record?
Richard Shuck, zoning enforcement officer.
Thank you.
Real quickly, you had mentioned earlier about offsetting the outdoor natural lighting with LED lighting. Is the plan to put LED lights in the grow area?
Not currently.
Okay, yeah, because I didn't see it on the plan, so I just wanted to clarify.
No, yeah, if sometime in the future,
Yeah.
it is an option.
In the future, could that happen?
He just said it.
Can we please have quiet while people are talking?
I should also note that any concerns about light pollution should not be warranted because, extra light can cause plants to hermaphrodite. So we don't want light pollution any more than anyone else.
Right, and Kathy did have a question. Is that something in the future?
It could be, but that would be a stage 2, stage 3, in a couple of years if this is successful.
Right, okay, and that could trigger to put the lights in a modification of this application, which would cause it to come back to the commission, just to let you know.
Okay, well, that'll be a bridge we can cross.
So I had a couple other just comments. One of them is it's going to be more of a housekeeping thing, and the plan the plan that was created by Gerwick and Marine that's in the application, that was for a proposed free split of the property. I don't believe that plan has been filed. I didn't see it in my database search of the clerk's records. That doesn't mean it wasn't filed and the database hasn't been updated yet. So if I'm incorrect, CLA can correct me. But that clearly was for a free split. It even has a signature line for review of the zoning officer, and it hasn't been filed. So that should be filed prior, if this is approved, that should be filed prior to the Mylars for the facility. And this is just more procedural and housekeeping stuff so that we can keep track. And that's going to affect the address, which is on the plans and the map block and lot, because it's not 139, it's going to be a different address.
Yeah, we could do all that before the
Yeah,
Mylar is filed.
And these are just housekeeping stuff that I just wanted to bring up. And that's pretty much it. There was still some concerns with comments that I had made regarding, detailed plans from an architect and engineer for the floodproofing or what's going to be done in the special flood hazard. Section 3.4.7.6 is additional requirements for the special permit. And that's the applicable section, and an engineer and architect, as stated in that section, can't issue any certifications at the time of application. This is what they're going to build, because the applicant has chosen to say, if it's approved, we'll address the engineering and architectural aspects of the special flood hazard after.
Rich, I just want we can provide all of, because I was reading through that section, and for the most part, it looks like we've provided all the compensatory storage and all of that. It looked like the only thing was just showing that all of the mechanical portions of the building are above, or at least a foot above the flood elevation. And we could absolutely provide that to you guys before we file the Mylars.
Yeah, there's quite a bit to that section that has to do with any enclosed spaces that are below the base flood elevation and how they're either flood proofed or
There are no enclosed spaces below the I guess there
is some enclosed area there.
But yeah, we can provide that with architectural plans before we file the Mylars though.
Okay, I just wanted to make the commission aware of those two things.
Thank you. Anything else from staff now?
Yeah, just to add on to that, I think the commission may want the applicant to discuss the special permit criteria, considering some of the audience comments this evening. Won't repeat anything that Rich said. All of the prior staff comments by the city engineer and myself and Rich, other than what he mentioned tonight, have been addressed. And then I do have Rich's comment about the split being filed on the land records in the clerk's office prior to filing this special permit or the Mylars if the project moves forward. So I'd ask that the bullet points from my memo be included in any motion, as well as Rich's comments tonight. And I do have a copy of the exhibit list here, which I will provide to the clerk should someone make a motion for approval.
Okay, so you did mention the conditions. And maybe Mr. McCartney, you could address that issue.
Yeah, can I share my screen again?
Yep.
When I originally uploaded the plans, I uploaded this document that kind of details how each criteria in section 7.7.6 is met. I could go through all those if you want me to read this entire document.
You don't have to read it, I don't think, but if you could highlight it and give us your position on those issues.
If you could zoom it in so people can see it on the screen here, it's pretty small.
So first is the proposed uses to be consistent with the current Norwich plan of conservation and development. And basically this is going to bring 8 to 16 new jobs to Norwich, which is part of the development plan of Norwich, is supporting community growth and basically only 10.5 acres of the site is going to be or the site's 10.5 acres, and this is actually old. There's now less than 4 acres of the site being disturbed during development. And it does conform with the or it falls under the advanced manufacturing requirement in the general commercial district. We have submitted this job to DOT too, and we went through all their comments and we made sure that that everything was satisfied with them. So they had a few issues with some of, or not issues, but they just had a few comments on some of the things that we were proposing, and we addressed those comments. And the design elements have to be attractive to the site characteristics. We have a full landscape plan that we've shown on this plan set, and there's quite a bit that has gone into this landscape plan. It's gonna look great from the street. You see here, there's all kinds of plantings going in along the parking area and the driveway and in front of the building too. It's gonna make the site look great. Let me see if I can get back. Hold on. The sharing thing is in the way of my. Yeah, and this is basically similar, it's just basically the site's gonna look great after it's developed because of all the landscaping. It's gonna bring a lot of jobs to the area. And it's the lighting and all the signs, they're not gonna adversely affect the area. We provided a full photometric plan for all the lighting. There's not really any other structures on the site besides um, like a shack or two from the original driving range. So none of the existing buildings on site are going to be adapted for the new development. There's probably going to be actually a reduction in traffic from this site because this site's not going to be open to the public after it's developed. It's going to be 16 employees max in the busy season, so there's not going to be a bunch of customers or anything coming in. And yeah, we have designed the parking for the site to be adequately sized for the zoning regulations. And yeah, we've made sure that all of the entrances and everything for the site are accessible for emergency vehicles. And we've also done a truck turning plan to ensure that they can get into the site safely and turn around in the site, maneuver out of the site. We're planning on using public water and sewer for the building. The sewer is going to be pumped up into a manhole that's at the top of the street in the DOT right of way. And we're gonna connect into the public water line that's right in front of the property too. And again, yeah, we have the whole parking lot has been designed to be easily accessible to all emergency vehicles. Yeah, and again, this one is trying to preserve the scenic historic beauty of the site. Like I said, there's going to be a full landscape plan. There's a full landscape plan done. There's going to be plenty of plantings and trees. And a lot of it is blocked off by tree cover that's along Route 12, which is going to remain in place. And yeah, as I highlighted in that operation and maintenance plan, the basin is going to be cleaned out semi-annually, and all of the catch basins are going to be cleaned out. It'll be adequately maintained throughout the life of the facility. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from staff, Dan?
No, I think I covered everything. I have some suggested reasons here. If someone just make a motion to approve, it conforms to zoning section 2434, chapter 5, section 7.5 and 7.7 of the regulations.
Okay. So that being said, I think we can have a motion to close the public hearing.
I have a couple more questions.
What's that, sir?
I have a couple more questions.
I'll give you a couple more questions, but we're about to close the public hearing. Go
A
ahead.
bit small for the town. Have studies been conducted on how facility might affect property values on the general appearance of the neighborhood? Was it done?
Say that again, please.
Have studies been conducted on how this facility might affect property values or the general appeal of the neighborhood?
Mr. McCartney, I'm not sure that's required for the application, but that's the question. Have you done any studies regarding property values?
Ryan, I think that might be more of a question for you. I know we haven't.
We have not done any studies about the property value. I will say anecdotally, we would be cleaning out the homeless encampment on the side of, with our, heightened security, and the amount of heroin needles we found in the field during our testing, would suggest that, having security cameras there 24/7, would be beneficial to property values.
The town didn't do it either.
No.
And what agency will oversee the facilities operation and how?
Department of Consumer Protection oversees all cannabis. The same agency that oversees liquor licenses, et cetera, and every pharmacy.
One clarifying question. You said that you were doing maintaining the beauty of that area, is that correct? Like with the landscaping and stuff? Does the green space that's there now? Do we need? Hello?
We would not be affecting the majority of the acreage and leaving the green space open, correct?
Okay, so, but you also said the public's not allowed. Are they still allowed to go to that green space or we can't go there?
I mean, just as you can't walk across the driving range in the summer, you could not walk through the fields, no. The amount of public access to the space is not really changing. No one is walking across that driving range any day during the spring or summer.
Because people are hitting balls, not for the same reason, but okay.
Okay, but they're not in the space. So the space would be preserved for the eagles and the birds, and the bird sanctuary inside would have a great time. The deer, everything else would be welcome to the site.
Like this now.
Okay. We have a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
A motion by Kathy Wazika. Can we have a second?
Second.
Second by Dean Nason. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so the public hearing is closed. Anybody want to make a motion in connection with the application?
I will make a motion to deny the application for the following reasons. In my opinion, the application is not consistent with the plan of conservation and development. And we have a nice bakery that has opened and established and is doing well in the area. I am of the opinion that this odor could possibly, well, definitely impact them and could put them out of business. But I'm not saying that it will. But I think that it will definitely adversely affect their business. So I think based on section G3.5, there might be another number, a letter after that, I can't see it, which says encourage entrepreneurship and small businesses. This would discourage a small business that has moved into our community and has made a very positive impact on our community. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing, it is not consistent with section L22, I think that's what it is, which talks about rehabilitation of existing housing stock, because I don't think people will invest in the area now if there is odor from the cannabis facility. I also think that the industrial type building that they are proposing does not fit in with the area. The 12-foot fence that they have, and I just don't think it fits in with the area. And I know that the state of Connecticut is trying to push things to more urban areas. Well, I don't think it should be in this area. I think there's too much development around the area. I think we need to locate it somewhere else. I'm very strongly opposed to this for those reasons, and that's my motion.
Does anybody have a second?
This is Ella, I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion to deny the application?
Aye.
Aye.
How are you voting?
Yes, I said aye.
Oh, I didn't hear you. Okay, so that's three. I vote to oppose the motion, so that's 3-1. So the motion carries, the application's denied. Doesn't look like we have any other business on the agenda tonight, Dan.
Nope, the other two are tabled to next month, and we don't have anything else for tonight.
Okay, so with that, can we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
This is Ella, I'll second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we're adjourned at 8:11 PM.